Hello, my name is Derek Joswiak, and I'm a certified personal trainer and strength and conditioning coach through the ISSA. Majority of my strength and conditioning work has been done through the high school baseball team that I work with as a full-time assistant coach. Recently, a member of the Junior Women's Hockey League, which is an adult amateur women's hockey league, that is a friend of mine, has reached out looking for some strength and conditioning coaching during her season. She's currently playing on a team that plays predominantly on weekends. We will be meeting twice a week to work on not only increasing explosion through her movements, but also conditioning her muscles to not break down during the course of a game. So her coaches have noted that her cardio is fantastic. Her cardiovascular health is fantastic. She's very rarely out of breath. However, she has the issue where her muscles fatigue throughout the game faster than they should, and they want her to work on being able to be more explosive for a longer duration of time throughout a game. We will mostly be focusing on lower body work to allow her to be able to skate harder, faster, make more dynamic cuts throughout a game, as opposed to mixing in upper body, lower body days, or even specialized workouts for each individual body part. Some of the workouts will include some plyometric. The following does not include plyometric. We were a little limited based on our location. Because today is a holiday, we were unable to get to a fitness center, like a full functionally fitness center. So we actually filmed this in her father's home gym, which limited us on space a little bit, but we were still able to get a good workout in. And the following is clips from that workout with some explanation and corrections that were made to her form to achieve the goals at hand. Like I said, we'll be meeting 2 times a week during the week because our games, the teams travel on weekends for games, often 2 to 3 games a weekend. So this is going to really impact and help her throughout the course of a weekend, allowing her muscles to sustain longer durations of strenuous physical activity. First thing we're going to get after here is a dynamic warm-up and stretch. This is more of an active warm-up where we will have the body moving to warm up the muscles and stretch the muscles out. First things first, we start with just this normal stationary bike at an average easy tempo. We start here at an easy tempo just to get the blood flowing and the legs moving, and we run this set 3 times for 50 each exercise for 50 seconds each with a 10-second rest, and we'll run it 3 times. Each time we will increase in intensity to get the heart pumping, the blood flowing, and get us ready to really get after our workout. With the med ball swings, it should be noted that the athlete's legs are to be straight while moving the ball up and down. This is to not only get the blood flowing through our entire upper body, but to also activate our core. And as you can see here from the side view, the athlete keeping their legs straight will stretch the hamstrings out. As you can see here, the athlete in this picture, it does have a little bit of bend in her leg, and that will be something we work on going forward. With the mountain climbers, normally these are done in a push-up position. She's doing them on an incline due to a former wrist injury that makes it difficult for her to support her weight on her left hand while doing this exercise. And again, we will increase in intensity each time we do this, going through the cycle a total of 3 times. The next thing we're going to go with is a dynamic stretch with stiff leg or Romanian deadlifts holding dumbbells. You can see here the client's back is straight, although in this still shot you can see her legs are a little bent. I would like to see her legs be a little bit straighter to really elongate the hamstring there. She does a fantastic job of shooting the hips back to elongate the hamstring, and by keeping her legs a little bit straighter, she would achieve a better stretch through this, and then driving the hips forward and tightening her glutes to finish the lift. Going from the front, you can see her head is up, her chest is square, her back is flat, and she does a great job of pushing the weights toward the ground and working the stretch in this, by having her legs straight, that will just simply increase the effectiveness of this lift. Our next step in our dynamic stretch is going to be a side lunge while holding a medicine ball. This is something that you can see here going into this still, that there was some confusion of the way I wanted her to do this exercise by standing up out of the squat by the way or out of the lunge by the way she's going. So she'll go back down and stand back up. You can see here also that she is a little bit weak on this type of movement, which for a hockey player you can kind of tell is something that she needs to improve on, and between the flexibility in her hips and the ability to strengthen this movement is something that's going to greatly increase her lateral movement on the ice, as well as her ability to move in all directions. From there, we're going to get into our first combination lift. This is going to be a standing rubber band row to a into a deadlift, or a stiff leg deadlift. You can see here we're going to explode out of the hole. Part of the reason that I added this row into the exercise is because of our athlete's natural build. She struggles with some upper back pain, especially being hunched over a hockey stick throughout the duration of a game, and this will help. From the side view, you can see that she is kind of shrugging her shoulders a little bit in the first one, where here I correct her to get her elbows back toward her hips more, to actually engage the back muscles that are supposed to be used in a row, and then exploding into the stiff leg deadlift from there. From there, our next combination lift is a dumbbell front squat into a standing shoulder press. This is just your generic squat motion, sinking down into the hole while holding a weight out in front of you. Again, working on developing the muscles that are going to be important for our athlete while playing a game of hockey, and including the standing press is going to tighten our core and work that, as well as working our shoulders. And you can see here there are a couple times I've corrected her to get her head and chest up during the lift to make sure she's in the proper form and posture. Our next combination exercise is a glute bridge with a dumbbell chest press. You can see in this the athlete is to keep her glutes off the ground and tensed at all times while doing a standard dumbbell chest press. This is one of the exercises I chose to work on muscle fatigue while operating another part of your body like an athlete on the ice would have to, skating hard while stick handling, passing, so on and so forth. Just working the body in one way while it's forced to do something else that is causing fatigue throughout the entire exercise. It should be noted right here, I would like to see the athlete's arms and elbows out to the sides more and not as collapsed on their wrists, especially with her history of wrist issues. That is something that will be worked on going forward, and a correction that will be made. Our next exercise will be our first explosion exercise. It is a forward lunge with what I call a speed pulse in the bottom. Our athlete will lunge out, sink down to the hole, and explode out. I would like to see her control the negative movement, the sinking into the hole a little bit more, with a little bit more explosion, as opposed to it being a slight variation. I would like to see a more of a variation there. You'll see when she turns to the side that she does not allow her knee to travel further out than her toe, which is good squat form. I would like her chest out and her head up more to prevent the hunching of her back, which could cause some upper back issues through this exercise. This next exercise was your standard hamstring curl. However, we had to get a little creative because of the restricted equipment we had. So in this one, I decided to put a dumbbell between the athlete's feet, as you can see here, with the head sticking out from the soles of her shoes. This causes the athlete to pinch her legs together, as I described in the opening narrative, keeping her muscles tense throughout the entire movement, and without there being a pad or a placement for the weight to stop, she is in constant tension with the weight there to not allow it to fall out from between her feet. And this is something that is going to severely work on her muscle fatigue throughout games and throughout hard skates. And it is also working on strengthening and stretching our hamstrings, which is something, as previously noted, our athlete needs some help with. Moving on to our next exercise, these are skaters with a squat in the middle. This is using a skating motion, moving laterally, pushing off from the back, and then squatting in the middle, and then moving the other way. This is something that, again, is a constant tension exercise, which is allowing her muscles to stay active through the entire motion while controlling her body as a whole in a motion that she would as if she's skating. You'll see here she sinks across, sinks back, stays low, keeps her head up, her chest out. You'll see here I make the correction of having her head up when she does the motion, and this way she's keeping her head up. And again, not only for proper lifting form, but that is also something that helps her throughout the game of hockey. Something else I've touched on a few times here is our athlete has complained a few times of upper back tightness and issues because of her build and being hunched over a stick. So the following exercise is something that was not only a modification due to limited equipment use, but also something to help her with her back. This is a leg extension on a foam roller. Her legs are in constant tension here to control her upper body's movement while rolling herself back on a foam roller, which is digging into the muscles in her upper back and helping her rehab that. You'll see here again rolling, working the hamstring, elongating, stretching, and she does a great job here of nice controlled movements. The next exercise I decided to go with was one to give the legs a little bit of a break, and it is the medicine ball sit-up. You'll notice here we put a foam roller under the client's heels. This way the client is forced to use her core muscles to sit up. I would like to see her avoid swinging the medicine ball forward as hard as she is and have it be more of a controlled motion. But you'll see here the extension and contraction of the core muscles, and also allowing our athlete to lean forward and stretch the legs as well. And by having them suspended on the roller like that, it allows them to really stretch out and get a workout through the core. At this point, we enter our cool down phase of the workout. First step would be the good morning stretch. We fold our arms out front, creating a little bit more of a natural front loaded weight, and then we bend over at the waist, sinking our hips and trying to keep our hamstrings straight. This is meant to stretch out and elongate the hamstrings and then activate them again without any extra added weight to stand back up and move our hips forward. You'll see here there's still a little bit of that bend in the knee that our client had earlier in some of the other exercises we were doing, but that is something that we were focusing on getting rid of, and that flexibility is something that is going to be very, very important to our athlete moving forward. The next part of our cool down is what I call a squat and stand. The athlete will hook her fingers under her toes by bending at the waist, getting her fingers underneath, squatting down into a catcher's type stance where it allows her hips and groin to open up, and then standing up from there, staying bent over and elongating the hamstrings. Again, this is an active stretch that is meant to stretch out not only the hips but the hamstrings as well, continuing on that work that we've been kind of focusing on quite a bit throughout this workout. The third part of our cool down is a hip flexor roll. We will sit, our athlete is sitting with her back laid back and just rolling her hips, her both knees side to side, opening up one hip, closing off another, and just working the hips in a motion that is going to help us create flexibility and essentially stability through our hips, which is something that, as noted from our side lunges, is something that she needs a lot of work on and something that is going to really help her game on the ice. Fourth part of our cool down is something I call inchworms. Again, this is working on stretching our hamstrings out and getting our entire body and core stretched out as well. The athlete will put her hands on the ground, do a hand walk out, sink her hips to the ground, expand, stretching out her lower back and upper back, then stand back up with her hips, and then inch her feet forward, slowly elongating the hamstrings along the way. This is something that a lot of athletes struggle with, and this is where you really tell the athletic flexibility of your legs and your back by working these motions. The last thing we're going to do to finish up here is just to ride a nice steady pace on the stationary bike for about 5 minutes. Just something to get the blood moving again. And again, nothing crazy here, nothing insane. Just a steady pace, working the legs, keeping them moving, and getting every muscle that we've worked throughout the day involved in that. Something that can be supplemented with this would be an elliptical or even a shorter period on a stair climber just to get the blood flowing and our legs moving. From there, we would finish up with different types of static stretches that are not included in this video, simply based on the fact that our those are our athlete felt pretty good today. She didn't feel as though there was anything statically she needed to stretch out, but I told her later on in the day if there was something that she needed to work on to feel free to do that just to keep herself healthy. As you can see on the text slides, I included the number of reps and the number of sets per exercise that we worked on today. Some of the things like the inchworm is something that I would normally do over a set distance, not a set number of reps. Obviously, today we were restricted because of the location and the lack of overall space. Other things I would have liked to have gotten involved were things like squat jumps and stuff like that. But again, with not being able to have her jump as high as she could because of the lower ceiling in the area that we were in, it was something that was kind of tough. Stuff like that would also be something in nicer weather I wouldn't hesitate to go outside to do if we were in a restricted space like this. However, it is cold, wet, and snowing here, so that was another thing I had to take into account when planning this workout for my client. Following up on the static stretching, that is something that I feel is something that athletes need to do based on how they feel and what they need for that day. Since the filming of the workout, I've been contacted by the client that she has 2 20-minute durations of stretching out her hamstrings both statically and actively to alleviate some tightness and soreness. As you can tell from her inability to keep her legs straight during some of these stiff-legged exercises we were doing, that is something she needs a lot of work on. And the next time we meet, we will be working on a couple other things to strengthen the outside of her hips as well. I feel as though she's going to have a lot of success through this program. I also would like to note that I stayed away from some standard Olympic lifts, such as a standard deadlift and a standard squat, simply based on the fact that it's something the athlete has told me she is not comfortable with. And also, there weren't a ton of things I needed to correct form-wise with her. She was a bodybuilder at one point, along with playing hockey her entire life, so she actually does have some pretty good form. One of her biggest things is keeping her, like I said, being able to keep her legs straight during doing stiff-legged exercises, and also keeping her head and her chest upright and her shoulders back during squat-type exercises. And those are things that will really help her with some of the upper back issues that she claims she has been having. Also, strengthening her back will be something that will really help with that, again, based on the athlete's natural build.